When is life going to stop being so overwhelming for me? Well, today we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you four things that you can do right now to stop feeling that pressure of overwhelm in your life. Welcome to the Catalyst Table. Have you ever wondered what a catalyst is? Well, that's you. Yes, you. Catalysts create movement. They take action. They shift the room with their energy, their words, and their presence. And whether you realize it or not, you are impacting the people around you every single day. Now, no pressure, but catalysts have a big job in this world. And my job is to make sure that you are healthy, that you are strong, and that you are getting the results that you want so you can show up and serve right where you are. Because I know leading and showing up and being present isn't always easy. This is where we focus on you, your life, and the people you do life with every single day. We're talking about all of it from parenting, marriage, your home, your business, your passion. Yep, we're going to cover it right here. So from here on out, you're invited to this table every single week so that you can grow, align, gain practical tools, and live the life that God created you to live. I'm your host, Lisa Jenkins, and I'll be right here with you, bringing you real coaching, real tools, and real results. Whether you're a mom, a dad, a leader, an entrepreneur, or just someone trying to show up and do better every single day, you're invited to sit at this table. Let's get honest, let's get practical, and let's get growing. I wanted to dive into this topic today because I know that it is heavy and I know that it's weighing on a lot of people. What I see is people show up, they have all of these passions and desires and things that they want to accomplish, but life is overwhelming. I was scrolling Facebook and I see people who are just dealing with so many things and people are looking for answers. I recently ran a poll just asking people, what is the hardest thing that you're dealing with right now? And the overwhelming answer that I continue to get over and over and over again is life. Life is overwhelming. So we're going to jump into that today. I also know that if you're tired and you hear people say to you, get into action, be positive, just have more gratitude, just do the right things and life will change. And you're constantly thinking, when is it going to change for me? When is life going to stop being so overwhelming for me? I will tell you with certainty and years of working with people that I know that life is hard. I know that it seems like storms and challenges just don't stop coming sometimes. That's even true in my own life. I want you to know that you are not alone and you're not crazy. I am not one more person that's going to tell you, just get up and think positive. Just get up and make things happen. Your emotions are real and how you feel is so real. So, we are going to talk all about you. We're not going to talk about your neighbor. We're not going to talk about your brother and your sister. Although you can invite them to listen to this episode, I want you to think about you and what you need. So now is the time to grab a piece of paper and a pencil and sit down and listen with your full heart. Try not to be scrolling social media or answering phone calls or letting your mind wander in 100 different places. Come 100% present today. I feel like it's really important just to have an open and honest conversation about where you're at and why life is so overwhelming or why it feels overwhelming to you most of the time. Everybody in the world has things going on. You may not know it, you may not see it, you may not feel it, but I promise you that everyone has something going on. I show up on social media and I am smiling and I am having a great time with my family and life is great. But that doesn't mean that I specifically don't have things going on. You may not see and you may not know everything about my life, We have life happening around us, and it seems like sometimes that it's just not slowing down and it's just not stopping. And then you turn on social media and there's one thing right after another. And just when you get your head in the game, just when you pray through it, just when you feel like the storms are going to stop coming and it's going to stop feeling overwhelming, you get hopeful, right? And you feel like, okay, things might slow down now. Boom, another thing hits. Well, I'm here to tell you first that storms will never stop coming. You have to learn to dance in the rain. You might feel like, well, gosh, everybody around me has it all. Not everyone around me is dealing with things. Not everyone around me has problems. I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. That's the wrong thinking because they do, because we do, and because it's real. So, where does this come from? And what is the difference in people? How come some people can have storms and challenges coming at them and they wake up and they still have a smile on their face and they still do life and they still move forward? And how come it freezes some people? How come some people just cannot manage? And how some people feel like life just keeps attacking them and they're not getting a break? I want to answer that for you as honest as I can. And what I see, where this comes from, it starts way back when we're born, and patterns start as we are growing up. How we manage things now has to do with how we managed things or seen things being managed as children. Your brain retraces. You do not know that it's actually happening. Your brain and your body files away emotions. So when something happens, your brain says, wait a minute, wait a minute. I have felt this before. I know what it looks like, sounds like, tastes like, and feels like. And your brain goes back to that. And that causes a reaction, negative or positive. So, how do some people deal with stress and overwhelm better than others? Some people have learned to manage those triggers. They have learned to manage when their brain retraces. They have learned to stop those thoughts and they ask themselves, is this reality or is this history? And so it is really important for you to understand the difference. These are the things that I walk through with people every single day. If something rattles you, if something makes you feel off, if something shifts your emotions, there is history there. And that is something that you must pay attention to. That is something that you cannot ignore. It is information that you need, that your body and your brain and your head and your heart is trying to tell you. So it comes from people ignoring those signals. It comes from people not understanding exactly what is going on in their brain. We do not and we are not educated on the fact that our brain retraces. So, where does it come from? All the stuff that you've been through in your life because your brain is retracing. We all have these patterns and cycles in our life. We all have moments where our brain retraces. Here is the best example that I can give you. I go in the kitchen, the sink is full of dishes, and immediately my energy shifts. Immediately my head starts going crazy. Who put the dishes in the sink? Who did not take care of the dishes? I already cleaned the kitchen last night. My gosh, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to break this pattern? How am I going to break this cycle? My kids don't listen to me. My head starts getting really involved. I start going crazy. I start telling myself stories. I start getting into that circle of crazy. But here's the reality of it. When I was growing up, if the dishes were not done, my dad would rip me out of my bed by my hair and he would drag me in the kitchen to do the dishes. Or we would be in big trouble if he came home from work and the dishes weren't done. So when I walk in the kitchen and I see dishes, my brain automatically retraces back to those dishes and my energy starts to shift. See the history there? So when I talk about, is that reality? Or is that history? It is reality because there is dishes in my sink, but it's the history that's making my brain go crazy. It is the history that is dragging my brain back into the past. So I have to stop in the moment and I have to go, okay, these dishes are not that big a deal. I need to talk to my kids about this. We need to have a family meeting instead of letting it interrupt me in a very emotional way. I want you to understand how tricky our brain is, how strong our brain is, how much our brain can pull us back into the past. And that's where we want to be very, very, very aware of it. And awareness is the solution. I want you to have a life that is full of amazing things. Why? Because you only have one life and it's passing by so quick. So now is the time. And so we got to learn to get a hold of that. We got to learn to be aware of what is happening so that life does not get overwhelming. Life does not feel attacking. So you will hear a lot of experts say, get up and just have a positive day. Get up and just do it. Get up and just take action. And while I know that that is true, that is almost impossible for everyone, and it gives people false hope. You have to learn to work through the things that continue to come up time after time after time again. Number one is pray. So I get this question a lot. Lisa, how come I pray and pray and pray and it just doesn't change? And most of the time, I will tell you it's because God cannot get in because there's so much noise in your head. And where does that noise come from? It comes from what you're hearing, it comes from what you're listening to, it comes to the people that you're talking to. It comes from all the things happening around you, and it starts to interfere with what's in you, and God cannot get in. So you're praying and you're praying and you're praying. But while you're praying, there's so much interference and noise. So that's why I say pray first thing in the morning. For me, that's because the noise of the day hasn't set in. That's because the kids haven't started crying and screaming and asking for thousands of things. That's because the dishes haven't started calling my name yet. That's because I haven't turned on my phone to hear what other people are trying to tell me. I connect with God first before the noise. If you think that you can't hear God, if you think that God is not listening, is it's because you're not hearing him. You're not stopping the noise. So what do you have to do to stop the noise? What do you have to do to hear him? So how do you start? Lisa, if I've been praying, if I am praying, if I just can't get those results and I don't know what to do about it. I want you to pray again, but I want you to do it with a full heart and I want you to do it with full presence. Yes, pray all day long, but you gotta start the day out right. This is not positive thinking. This is not one more book that you need to read. This is not one more thing that you need to do. This is lifestyle. You have to work it in. I want you to connect with God first thing in the morning. For me, that's reading my Bible, that's praying about the thing that I read, and then that is owning and speaking out what I need and taking responsibility of where I am and doing that way before the noise sets in, the noise of the day. And I get it. This is what I'm going to hear. And I already know what you're thinking. Lisa, but you don't understand. I have kids and it's really hard to do that first thing in the morning. And I just can't. I mean, their life is crazy. Life is busy. Life is this. I got to get in the kitchen. I got to cook and I got to get the kids ready for school. Okay. I hear you. I have all of those things. And I'm just saying you can do it. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that for you. Get up 15 minutes earlier. Prep the kids. Prep your husband or your wife and say, hey, just to let you know, before I roll out of bed and get my day started, I'm going to take 15 minutes and I'm going to connect with God. And you know what happens when you do that? Eventually, they start doing it. And then you know what happens when they start doing it? Everybody gets on the same page. Everybody starts feeling peace. People start getting out of the circle of crazy. And that starts with you. I'm not telling you to put more pressure on yourself. I'm saying do it. Take action way before you read that next book, way before you listen to another podcast. And I know I want you to listen to my podcast, but I'm not more important than God. So, way before you click on your phone, you have to create peace in your head. It creates a center, a focal point. When you talk to God in the morning, when you pray in the morning, when you really think about what you need and you submit your plans to God first before anything else, life starts to get better. Things start to happen. That does not mean that storms will not stop coming. That doesn't mean that you won't feel overwhelmed. That doesn't mean that you won't have challenges, because you will. It just means that you're learning how to manage it and you're learning to go to your number one first. That's where it starts. Okay, what's next? Number two, I want you to grab a piece of paper and I want you to write problem on one side, and I want you to and I want you to draw a straight line down the middle of your paper, and I want you to write solution on the other side. Now, I want you to sit and I want you to think about all the things happening in your life, all the problems that you have, and I want you to write them out, okay? Problem number one, the dishes are always left in the sink overnight. When I get up in the morning, they're calling my name. That's a problem. Maybe the problem is we don't have enough dishes in our house, and I'm frustrated at dinner time because I'm always hand washing dishes or rushing around. That's been one of my problems, right? I'm just being honest, real here. Maybe another problem is my kids always yelling at me. Or the next problem, finances are always a mess. There is so many things in your life happening, and I want you to call them out. Big or small, I want you to call them out right now. I want you to get them out on paper. I don't care what they look like. Our refrigerator's breaking, the wash machine doesn't work right. There's somebody needs to help me around the house with chores. My boss doesn't listen to me. My spouse yells. It doesn't matter what it is. Write it down. So why am I having you do this? Well, there's a few different reasons. One, awareness is the solution. Number two, if you don't get it out of your head is going to continue to cycle over and over and over again. Your brain doesn't have an outlet. So if you're constantly thinking about or processing these problems, it just goes over and over and over and over again in your brain, and you need an outlet. So, one popular tool is a brain dump, but I want you to get more in detailed with it because I want you to stop feeling overwhelmed. I want you to write a list of what are the problems. It is human nature to go to the negative first. So your brain is going to continue to cycle those problems over and over and over again until you get them out. Once you get them out on paper, you will feel heard. They will stop cycling, and then you can start working through what are the solutions to these problems. What can I do to fix these problems? Because working through the problems are what's next. But it's really hard to work out the problems if you don't even know what the problems are, the exact problems. So write them down. Maybe it's a corner in your house that needs cleaned out. I mean, I can keep going and going and going. So, next, after you get all of those problems out, I want you to kind of push that away for a minute. I want you to really think about what is a specific prayer that I need to be praying over all of these problems. So, God, I am asking you to help me find a solution to every one of these problems, to help me work this out, to help me be aware of this, to give me wisdom and guidance and knowledge to knock these problems out. And then I want you to table that for a little bit. I don't want you coming up with solutions right now. I want you to just kind of get it out of your brain, and I want you to sit with it, number one, and make sure that there aren't any more problems that you did not list. So, the next thing, number three, I want you to think about what are the things that I need to remove that is toxic. So grab another piece of paper and write on your paper, what are the things that I need to remove that is toxic in my life? Okay, before you go any further than that, I want you to know that I also have the information detox, which goes along with this because I am really, really, really passionate about you removing the things that are toxic, the things that are taking away from you, the things that are not helping you solve problems, the things that are making you feel more overwhelmed. Because chances are, if you continue to feel overwhelmed day after day after day and it's not stopping, there's something toxic in your life that is probably keeping you in that spiral. So, on your piece of paper, what are the things that are toxic for me? And I want you to write a list. You need to become very aware of and not hide from it. This is another thing that I want you to be very open and honest with yourself about. No more hiding. No more just stepping back and thinking that it's going to change. Because if you're still feeling overwhelmed with life, something is causing it. So, what is toxic for me? Not as what is toxic for your spouse, not as what is toxic for your kids. Right now, we are focusing on you and you're a catalyst. So, catalysts make things happen, catalysts put things into motion. Today, we're talking about the core of you, Catalyst Core Collective. That is what I am super passionate about. Catalysts make things happen, they make things move. But most of the time, if they feel like they can't make things move, it's because the core, them, the inside of them, is having tension, is not aligned, is feeling frustrated. So today it's about you and the core of you, the inside of you. So what do you need to remove that is toxic for you? It could be Facebook. It could be the news. It could be the people that you're talking to over and over again. It could be your family who is giving you false information that may not be relevant or helping you. If you are a person that is living a very overwhelmed life and you cannot move a position and you feel like it's cycling over and over and over again, something has to change. So if you're watching things like thrillers, horror movies, podcasts that rattles you, you have to stop those things. I had a client come to me and she was 18 years old and she said, Miss Lisa, I felt like life was great and we were really moving forward and we were doing things and I started to just feel really good and less overwhelmed and like life was moving in a great way. And she said, so I started to relax a little bit and and all of a sudden things have just changed and they have fallen off and they have become hard again. And so we're going through her daily routine and some of the things that might be coming up for her. And I said, tell me, what are you watching on TV? And she started to talk about it. And like she was talking about these characters as if she was doing life with them. And I said, do you ever wonder how Maria, we'll just say Maria in the show, was doing? And she goes, yeah, it's weird. I think about it. Like I'm at work and I'll be going, how's Maria doing? And then she goes, and then I stop and go, why am I thinking that? Like, that's a TV show. And I can tell you that that is real. You might think that that's silly, but some of us really do it, including myself. And so when she said that, I thought, oh my goodness, I have experienced that before. And what it came down to was she slid off. She started going backwards because she was really getting involved in their story. Their online TV story was starting to become her story, and she was living it, and she's visiting it, and she's thinking about it. She's wanting to know what was happening to Maria. And oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for Maria. So then what happened? She stopped watching that stuff for a little while. Things started to clear up again. And while I'm not anti TV, I want you to know how much that can impact you. I think TV's great. I give people the homework of watching TV sometimes. So again, TV's not bad, but is it interfering in your thoughts? Is it toxic for you? So I really want you to think about what is toxic for me. Is it alcohol? Does your emotions and overwhelm start to really come out when you're drinking? Is that what's happening? Is it when you cut loose and you go have pizza and you haven't had pizza in a couple of weeks and then now all of a sudden you feel bad? Is that toxic to you? I'm not trying to make this about food or alcohol, but I'm saying get real with yourself. If you feel the biggest shift while you're drinking, and that's when things like blow up and really start to happen, or it's still days later when your body's still trying to get that out of your system, I think you need to step back and think about what that is doing to your life. So once we get all of that out of the way, once we start praying differently, we start being present, we make that our first thing in the morning. And then we start to write down problem and solution, right? We haven't got to the solution part yet, but when you start to get that cycle out of your head and you write down all of the problems, and then you step back and you start to pray about those problems differently, and then you think about what is toxic in your life and what you need to remove, then gratitude helps. Then you can start having gratitude because your brain is not overwhelmed with all of this stuff. Now, what am I thankful for? What is happening in my life from the time that my feet hit the ground in the morning am I thankful for? I am grateful for one more day. I am thankful that I have toes to get up and walk on the floor. I am grateful that I get to eat this today. I am grateful that my husband's coming home today. What are you grateful for? All the big things, all the small things. It doesn't matter. Start looking at it a little bit differently. You cannot get to all those grateful things until you have pushed your brain out of this cycle, until you have become aware of what's actually happening in your life. Now, I do have to say, when you start working through these things, when you start to pray in the morning and you start to make sure that that has become a focal point for you, and you write down all of the problems and you start thinking about what you need to remove that is toxic in your life, it could get a little harder at first. You're bringing things up to the surface, but don't stop. Keep moving. Just like Nemo says, keep swimming. Like, don't stop what you're doing. Because that's the problem. It gets more painful and it gets harder, and I can't do this. And then you stop doing it and then you have to start all over again. Stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. Keep going. Push through no matter how painful it gets. You will get on the other side of feeling overwhelmed. You will get to the other side of your brain retracing and you will learn how to manage it. Today is about what steps can you take right now. I know that everybody has something going on and all things are different for all people. So maybe you might need a little bit more one-on-one support. Maybe you need to jump in the Facebook group and talk about it. Maybe you need to let me know what's really happening so that I can target so that I can really help you with what you need. But you can take these steps today and start working through it. But before you start focusing on solution, if you go back to number 2, when I said problem and solution, I didn't tell you to go into solution yet because first you need to offload what's toxic for you. And then I want you to start being grateful. Then you can start writing. You go back to that problem sheet and you go, okay, so if the problem's the dishes, what's going to solve that? A family meeting, getting my spouse on the writing a note and putting it on the wall in the kitchen. And I've done all of those things. That's just an example. So you start writing what are the solutions to some of these problems and you start working through them one at a time. We need those cycles and patterns to break. I know that every one of these things are possible. I also know that every one of these things are hard. But what choice do you have right now today? So start there. Pray. Pray differently. Make sure that when you're praying, the noise of the day has not set in yet. You control that. No one else. Do not let excuses stop you from connecting with God. The next thing, write all that stuff out of your head. Get it out. And then remove what's toxic. Grab the information detox guide and start there. It is in the Catalyst core community on Facebook. All you have to do is jump in there and get the guide. and start removing all of that stuff that is toxic for you, and then have gratitude. Think about what you're grateful for. Don't start with what you're grateful for. You have to remove all this stuff that keeps cycling over and over and over in your head. I want you to get the message that you are not alone and that you can do this. And you are called to do and feel and be more than to be overwhelmed every single day. No more of that. Write it down. No longer am I going to be overwhelmed with life. No longer am I going to let this continue. No longer am I going to let this take over my life. I'm going to start working through these things, and I am going to live the life that God created me to live. Everything that we talked about today is in the show notes. Grab it, download it, do it, take action. Thank you for listening today, and I want you to know something. I have nothing but love for you, and I want to see you win. I want to see you win so big. But now this is on you. Don't just listen to this today and move on. Take something from it and actually apply it. I want you to get out of that darn circle of crazy and move forward the way that God created you to move. Remember, awareness is always the solution, but action is what gets you the results. You're a catalyst whether you realize it or not. The question is, what are you going to do with that? If this episode helped you think and process and move, I want you to share it with someone who might need it. Come sit with us inside of the Catalyst Core community because I cannot wait to meet you. I'll see you next week back here at the Catalyst table.